was new. This one is a little older, a little troublemaking. Are we down for troublemaking? I mean, I enjoy trouble. I don't know about y'all. This is a TETRA message, secret project, that happens. If you want to know more, holler at me or Chace or anyone at that table right there. Your Eminence. Isn't tonight a good night to clean house? I mean, open all the windows and let the haunt out. I'd like to call an ancestor into the room, my Aunt Pat. I'd like to honor my Aunt Patricia. Let me tell you about my Aunt Pat. See, she'd unlock the thunder in the very back of her throat and call you a motherfucker like nobody has ever pronounced it before. She said it like she was humming a hymn. Her curses are blue, black, obsidian. Black is simply the space where everything is possible. And her voice was rumbling into an indigo rasp, a velvet so luxuriously sapphire, folks didn't truly understand how dangerous it was. If she called you a motherfucker, it was an anointing. If she baptized you with that honey smile, you ascended wholly into her land of milk and honey. But if you had forgotten yourself and she had to come down and say what nobody else wanted to say to you, well, trust that this was a hell of your own making. My great-great-granddaddy, her father, taught her that a woman never curses. She speaks the dictionary. She is a master of the King's English. But Aunt Pat never apologized for her instrument. Didn't Peter have his harp? Didn't Gabriel blow his horn? Didn't Moses play each half of the parted sea like turntables? Well, didn't God give Aunt Pat the moon bath in the back of her throat? And she commanded this bath to boil at will. When polite company bristled at her cussing, she always said, baby, I got to give it to you in the language that you understand. I always wanted to know where this rumble came from, and she told me that she'd found herself married to a man who liked to fight, who liked his house clean when he came home, who liked to think of himself as a king. And Aunt Pat at 4'11", well, she was outmanned. So one wintry day, she cleaned herself up and wiped down every corner of the house until her ammonia dripped, reflection glowed in the pine fresh floor, and dinner was humming, gravy brewing in the fire's eye, onions happily smothered beneath the chops. And when my uncle came home, he hardly noticed the clean. The Pabst Blue Ribbon in him still wanted to fight. You know, some folks, you can try to please them all you want, but they got too much of the world bottled up in their marrow. And she said to him, look, baby, I just cleaned the house. And he looked around and he saw the house gleaming, and still he was cuffing up his sleeves. And she said, now, if you want to do this, let's go down to the basement where there's space and we won't tear up the house. He thought this was a good deal. He smiled and started taking off his good work shirt. She said, let me just turn the stove off. And then she met him at the basement stairs where she took a really deep breath, preparing herself. And she said, after you. And he nodded and he started down the stairs, and at about the third stair down, she put her little foot square in the middle of his back and she said, motherfucker, no! And kicked him into the mouth of the basement. She sent him into the black, the space where everything is possible. And locking the door behind her, she went back to the stove to fix herself a plate. And later she told me, Renee, motherfuckers will sit you down to see if you got the strength to stand up. The world will try to whoop your ass and tell you that you gotta be nice about it. But anger is the power inside of you that lets you know you're worthy, that you mean something. No, baby, that fire in your throat, trust it to cook. Trust it to bubble, to singe where it needs to. Trust it to create, and then trust it to protect what you've created. She said, Rainy, fuck being nice, but be kind. And the kindest thing you can do for a motherfucker is let him know in that language that he understands. She said, baby, when they go low, you kick them down the stairs. She said, when they go low, you do what?
Kick them down the stairs.
When they go low, you do what?
Kick them down the stairs.
She said, these motherfuckers want to know if you got the strength to be who you were really meant to be. She looked me right in my eye and she said, this motherfucker thought he was a king. And I gave it to him in the king's English. And that is how my Aunt Pat crowned herself a king. This year, the year of the dragon, it wanted to fight. It tried to sit us down to see if we had the audacity to stand up, to be who we were called here to be. So this year, in honor of Aunt Pat, I invite you to open up all the windows and let the energy out. Make more space for yourself, who you were called here to be. And today, I invite you to go home and open up the door and tell the year of the dragon, you go first. And I think I have two quick ones.